Hello, church family. Welcome to today's Sunday school lesson. We are in session 10 entitled Promised. And our key idea this week is God's blessing is seen in the promises he keeps. And we're in Genesis 12, 1 through 5, in the beginning of verse 5. And then we're going to skip to chapter 13, verses 11 through 18. And we're going to start by talking about promises that God has kept that are also expressions of his blessing. What are some of God's promises that he's kept to you that are expressions of his blessings? Think about that. Think about what God has done for you, has blessed you. Think about the things that God has given you, has blessed you. So for context, in Genesis 12, this is where God establishes a covenant for the people of Israel. We don't know that yet because we haven't met Jacob, who becomes Israel, but we have met his grandfather, Abram. And so this is the covenant that God makes with Abram that would have implications for the remainder of Genesis and throughout the entire Bible. If you'll recall, we just read the genealogy of Jesus together last Sunday on Sunday morning, and the book of Luke traces not only Jesus' lineage all the way back to Abraham, but all the way back to Adam. But it's very important that he does go to Abraham and touches on Abraham, because this proves that the Messiah did come not just from the seed of David, not just not just to the point of Moses, but all the way back to Jacob and Isaac and Abraham, that this was the Messiah that was promised from the beginning of Abraham's covenant, the covenant with Abraham, rather, and then even so far to go back as to Adam to prove that Jesus is the true and better Adam, that we also sang last Sunday morning. So we're going to look today at three promises that God makes to Abraham. Those three promises, or five promises rather, are to give Abraham a land, which would be the land of Canaan, to make Abram into a great nation, to bless Abram, to make him a man of renown, so a famous person, a man of great renown, and then he's also going to bless those who bless Abraham and to curse those who mistreat him. So God's purpose for blessing Abraham was not only for Abram, it was for the people that would come from Abram. And I keep saying Abraham because that they are the same person, but we haven't gotten to Abram's name changing to Abraham yet. So let's go ahead and begin reading, starting in chapter 12, verse 1. Then the Lord said to Abram, "Go from your land, your relatives, and your father's house to the land that I will show you. I will make you into a great nation. I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you. I will curse anyone who treats you with contempt, and all the peoples on earth will be blessed through you." So Abram went as the Lord has told him, and Lot went with him, his nephew Lot. Abram was 75 years old when he left Haran. He took his wife Sarai, his nephew Lot, all the possessions they had accumulated, and the people that they had acquired in Haran, so servants and livestock and cattlemen and things like that. And they set out for the land of Canaan. And here's our big skip of most of the rest of chapter 12. And then all the way to verse 11 of chapter 13. So Lot chose the entire plain of the Jordan for himself. Then Lot journeyed eastward, and they separated from each other. Abram lived in the land of Canaan, but Lot lived in the cities on the plain and set up his tent near Sodom. Now the men of Sodom were evil, sinning immensely against the Lord. After Lot had separated from him, the Lord said to Abram, "Look from the place where you are. Look north and south, east and west, for I will give you and your offspring forever all the land that you see. I will make your offspring like the dust of the earth, so that if anyone could count the dust of the earth, then your offspring could be counted. Get up and walk around the land through its length and its width, for I will give it to you." So Abram moved his tent and went to live near the oaks of Mamre at Hebron, where he built an altar to the Lord. So we have here a pretty big timeline. Let me straighten this really quick. Of The Lord telling Abram, go, leave the land that you're living in now, go to the land that I will show you. He hasn't shown it to Abram yet. Take your wife and your house. And so he also took his nephew Lot, presumably younger nephew Lot, with him so that Lot could get a new start. And so we will see how they what happens here, and we're missing some context, so I have that pulled up over here on my second monitor of what actually happened at the beginning of chapter 13. We'll read that together when we get to it. But anyway, let's look at our first section, which is entitled Move. And this is verses 1 through 5a. Then the Lord said to Abram, go from your land. So first off, we have two notes here. The Lord said, he didn't ask, he commanded. This is an imperative. The Lord said to Abram, go. It's not a question. It's not a request. It is an imperative. It is a command. And so all throughout Scripture, God commands for his people to go. He calls people to leave their comfort zones and to wait for his blessing in a place that is unfamiliar to them. So he's doing the same here with Abram. I will make you into a great nation. I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. Verse 3, I will bless those who bless you. I will curse anyone who treats you with contempt. All the people on the earth will be blessed through you. So Abram went, as the Lord had told him, and Lot went with him. Remember, Lot was his nephew, the son of Abram's dead brother Haran. So there was no one to watch after Lot. So Lot was in Abram's care. And eventually he became wealthy, and that's why they separated. And we'll read that in chapter 13. Abram was about 75 years old when he left Haran. He took his wife Sarai, his nephew Lot, and all the possessions they had accumulated, and the people they had acquired in Haran. They set out for the land of Canaan. Then, So what role did Abram's trust in God play in his response to the blessing? What role did Abram's trust in God play in his response to the blessing? Well, he had to have great trust in God, because otherwise, why would he leave the land that he was already living in, the land of his family, the land where he had made a name for himself already? Well, it played a great part. So what parts of the blessing would Abram have embraced? Well, the part where he will be blessed, and he will be a blessing. He will he will have protection, because God's going to bless those who bless him and curse those who treat him with contempt. But the parts that would have been harder for him to accept would have been the part of moving. You leave your family, leave your home, take your wife, take your nephew, but leave everything else behind. That's hard to do. That's hard to it's hard to move to a new place as it is, and it's even harder to do it when you have to do it on foot, as Abram had to do it. So now let's skip to chapter 13. I'm just going to read here. I have it on my second monitor. I'm reading out of the same version, so if you have the CSB in that same version. So chapter 13, verse 1. Abram went up from Egypt to the Negev, he, his wife, and all he had, and Lot with him. Abram was very rich in livestock, silver, and gold. He was a rich man. He went by stages from the Negev to Bethel, to the place between Bethel and Ai, where his tent had formerly been, to the site where he had built the altar. And Abram called on the name of the Lord there. Now Lot, who was traveling with Abram, also was rich and had flocks and herds and tents, but the land was unable to support them as long as they stayed together, for they had so many possessions that they could not stay together. They had so many livestock that it was hard to keep Abram's sheep separate from Lot's sheep. It was hard to keep everything straight, their yaks and their oxen as well. It was just a lot of livestock, a lot of herds, a lot of tents, a lot of equipment. So verse 7, and there was quarreling between the herdsmen of Abram's livestock and the herdsmen of Lot's livestock. At the time, Canaanites and the Perizzites were living in the land. So there were people living here as well. So Abram said to Lot, "Please, let's not have quarreling between you and me, or between your herdsmen and my herdsmen, since we are relatives. Isn't the whole land before you? Separate from me. If you go to the left, I will go to the right. If you go to the right, I will go to the left." Abram displays some compassion to his nephew. He says, "Look, we have all this land. I don't want us to fight. I don't want our people to fight. I don't want our livestock to get mixed. So let's separate here. We've made it here. You're doing well. I'm doing well. We'll stay in touch." It's like family moving out. And so he says, "If you go to the left, I'll go to the right. If you go to the right, I will go to the left." And so Lot, of course, chose the pretty land. And so verse 10, Lot looked out and saw that the entire plain of the Jordan, as far as Zoar, was well watered everywhere, like the Lord's garden in the land of Egypt. This was before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. So this land was fertile. This land was green. This land had plains and grassland for as far as he could see. It was well watered. His crops, or his livestock would flourish there. They would be able to eat and roam, and he would be able to stay a rich man here in this land. So he looked and he went that way. And so, verse 11, Lot chose the entire plain of Jordan for himself. Then Lot journeyed eastward, and they separated from each other. Abraham lived in the land of Canaan, but Lot lived in the cities on the plain and set up his tent near Sodom. Now the men of Sodom were evil, sinning immensely against the Lord. So that's where we'll stop. So what do we see here from Abraham? What role did Abraham's faith in God in God's promises play in his treatment of Lot? How did Abraham's faith in God's promises affect the way he treated Lot in this moment? Well, God had treated him fairly. And sorry, I just realized this light's not on. Is that better? I don't know if that's better or worse. God had been treating Abram favorably, so he wanted to return that blessing to Lot, and so he gave Lot the pick of the litter, the first choice when it came to where they're going to live. He didn't let him choose it and then have contempt toward him. He said, "If you go to the left and choose that land over there, great, please do it. If you choose the land to the right, great, please do it. I will go to the other side." And so Abram was a peacemaker in this moment. He was separating himself from his nephew, but not in a way that was breaking or burning bridges. It was just separating and going their own ways so that they could both succeed and not have to deal with the quarreling of their herdsmen. So Lot looked at it with self-interest, and it eventually consumed him. We know this from future chapters of Genesis, whereas Abram looked in obedience and received God's blessing. So Abram's faith in God, he just had more faith that God would bless whatever land that he landed on, and of course he did. So now let's move to our last 5 verses here, 14 through 18. After Lot had separated from him, the Lord said to Abram, "Look from the place where you are. Look north, south, east, and west, for I will give you and your offspring forever all the land that you see." We have a note here, and this is just talking about Lot and Abram, both looking at the land with favor. Verse 15. Verse 16. "I will make your offspring like the dust of the earth, so that if anyone could count the dust of the earth, then your offspring could be counted. Get up and walk around the land through its length and width, for I will give it to you." So Abram moved his tent and went to live near the oaks of Mamre at Hebron, where he built an altar to the Lord. So we see here that God says, "Look at the land. This is the land I'm giving you. Look north and south and east and west. Look at it all. See it. Survey it. Walk it. Make sure that you know this land, because this is what I'm giving you." He's giving Abram the land that will eventually become the nation of Israel in Canaan. So why was it important for Abram to set up an altar once he settled in the land? There, verse 18. Well, God had blessed him, and he was showing his devotion to the Lord. He set up an altar. He worshiped. That was the first thing he did. He worshiped God for what he did for him, for the blessings he gave. So why was it important for God to remind Abram of his promises after he had separated from Lot? I think it was important because Abram did choose, or did end up with, probably the less favorable land. Um, and it's never hard leaving and separating from family. And so if his family is leaving and he's supposed to have, offspring that outnumber the dust on the earth, well, this would be hard. So God is just reiterating his promises for Abram, not for Lot. So don't yearn after what Lot has, just reminding him of that. Instead, live where you're planting. Live in the land that I'm giving you. And so I think that's good for us to see the blessings God has given us, and to not expect or want more than that. To make sure that when he does bless us, which he does, we are thankful for the blessings he gives us, and don't go looking after our neighbor's blessings. I think that's a good point for us. So thank you for being with me today. I look forward to worshiping with you very soon.